A double. Grant Hill with Ginobili there. Collins. And the shot clock is down to 6. Turnover right there. That's the first for the Phoenix Suns, and Jefferson the other way. George Hill emerging in the first round with a drive and a foul called. Ooh, and he got low. And the wind knocked out him right there. And a shot to the face, as you can see. And the foul's going to go on Richardson, Doug, for the first time for the Phoenix Suns.
Well, I tell you how important George Hill was for the San Antonio Spurs in that first round. Kevin, you and I did Game 4. The game where the Spurs went up 3-1 in that series. They were down 15 early in that game. George Hill had 29 points in that game. He had a couple huge threes, but the Spurs win that game with Duncan, Ginobili, Parker going 9 for 34. Unheard of. But he and McDyess and Richard Jefferson had 53 combined in that game. So they really came to the front in a game at home. Dallas wins that game. They get the home court back. That series could have changed dramatically.
Collins is out. Fry is in. And Doug, we were told Fry was going to be an early entrant in this contest tonight.
Yeah, I just spoke about that a while ago in terms of now what they're hoping is that maybe Duncan now has to guard Stoudemire, because they don't think Duncan will come out on the perimeter and play Channing Frye, because he's going to be out behind that three-point line. So let's keep our eye, Kevin, on the matchup. Let's see who Duncan will guard now with Channing Frye in the game.
And Tony Parker has come in the game. Snatch for three. Steve Nash has been incredible on the start tonight. 11 points, 5 of 5 from the field.
It's just what the doctor ordered for the Phoenix Suns. It's a great start and a huge game here tonight, and they are moving the ball beautifully. Nash has been terrific.
And McDyess close in around Stoudemire. With under 7 to play here in the first quarter. The lead of the Suns has climbed as high as 9. Nash again. He's got the green light. Stoudemire around Jefferson. Corkscrews on McDyess.
How about in the playoffs in the first round against Portland, the Suns averaged over 17 points a game on second shots. That's the most for any team in the NBA playoffs. That's a pretty amazing stat for the Suns, who really weren't a good rebounding team.
On the drive inside by Tim Duncan. Stoudemire's right there. We have a loose ball foul. That's going to go on Tim Duncan of the San Antonio Spurs. And Duncan will pick up his first. So Hill will leave. Ginobili is back in. Doug, a lot of times we're going to see Hill and Parker and Ginobili on the floor at the same time.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting because they want Nash to have to defend. So if they have those 3 guards on the lineup, he'll probably play George Hill, who really plays without the ball a little bit more than Parker and Ginobili. There'll be a turnover there on Steve Nash, who had some turnover problems, Kevin, after that hip started bothering him. See a little push here along the way. A little shove there as he goes down.
A little playoff tap.
A little glove tap. And that's game 1. Let's see what happens if it gets to game 7.
30% shooting for the San Antonio Spurs. On a Ginobili coming off a 26-point game 6 against Dallas, and Duncan on the fly. Count it for 2. Oh, no. He was going inside with an offensive foul. That was on Stoudemire. It's on Stoudemire, who thought maybe they were going to put it on Duncan.
See, Amari Stoudemire is slow in the rotation here. He's got to rotate up there quicker. Then he rotates over, and Tim Duncan does a nice job of sort of jumping sideways. And Tim Duncan in those first 3 games against Dallas was brilliant. He had 3 games where he had over 25 in all 3 of those games in the playoffs. The last time he had done that, ironically, was against the Phoenix Suns a few years earlier, but then he sort of limped in the last 3. I thought he got tired, and one game we had in game 4, he was only 1 of 9, and then played very few minutes in game 5. Did have a good game 6 when they were able to put the Dallas Mavericks away.
Nash is 5 of 6 and meets Tony Parker with a little screen there by Stoudemire. That ball was kicked. What else did you take away from that Dallas-San Antonio series, Doug? A lot of things were kind of evident in that contest, and we talked about Hill. Anything else stand out about the way Popovich maneuvered his team?
Well, it was interesting because Dirk Nowitzki and Caron Butler were both above their season averages. All the other key guys were 19 points below their average. Here's Channing Frye, and he loves to shoot the 3 here at home. He's such a different shooter, and Greg Popovich told us before the game, all those screen rolls with Channing Frye, they were going to be switching. I think that was a matchup because he rolled out and had an easy jump shot in rhythm.
In the first series, you're right, Doug, 46% from the floor. On the road, he was 25%, so a big difference Home and road performance. Ginobili got a little screen from Duncan and pops in a deuce.
He is so difficult because he's one of those guys that just keeps you off balance. He can stop and start a herky-jerky kind of player, and here's Grant Hill in the lane coming off that screen. So if you're the Spurs right now, you've weathered a little bit of a storm. The Spurs, the Suns have gotten off to a great start, and you're only down 7.
7 minutes gone here in the first quarter. Ginobili sneaks one inside to the twirling Tim Duncan, goes in on Stoudemire. It's picked up by Grant Hill. 1 on 3. It's an offensive foul. Ginobili took it. Hill picks up his first personal.
I think Grant would like to have that one back. He thought there was a little space there. Actually, it was about a 1-on-2 break here, and Ginobili sits there, and Grant Hill just cannot split the gap, and he gets caught for that offensive foul.
The dice is gone, and Bonner will check in for the San Antonio Spurs. Parker and Jefferson, Duncan, Bonner, and Ginobili. The San Antonio 5. A Bonner screen. They quickly double Manu. Outside Jefferson by Stoudemire. Hit by Fry, and a foul goes on the Phoenix Suns. With 4.5 to play here in the first quarter. Fry will pick up the foul. Here's a look at the upcoming national TV schedule. TNT Tuesday, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Atlanta, Orlando, Utah, Lakers. ESPN Thursday, Atlanta, Orlando, Game 2, and ABC on Saturday gives you the Lakers and Utah Game 3. Jefferson was slow to blend in with this San Antonio team. Looked a little bit more comfortable, Doug, in the postseason round 1 against Dallas.
Well, he had a big game in Game 2. When they broke through and stole the home court from Dallas. He had 19 in that game, 17 in the first half. He really calmed down over the last 3 or 4 games of that series, but I think he's picking and choosing when to shoot the 3 and when to drive the ball. Like in that possession there, early in the year, I think he would have shot the 3. That time he drove it and got fouled. You know, Bruce Bowen, you knew he was going to shoot that 3. It looks like that was off Jason Richardson's leg. I think that's a break here for the Phoenix Suns. But, you know, I think he's picking and choosing, you know, when to shoot that 3 and when to drive the ball to the basket now.
We just saw Grant Hill working his way to the locker room. We'll put Marty Snyder on that story. Dudley is in for the first time for the Suns. Nash and Parker. Screen by Fry. Ginobili comes out on Richardson. Knocked away. That's a turnover for Phoenix, who initially led by 9. Now the lead down to 6, and turnover number 4 for Dalvin Gentry's ball club.
You know, Steve Nash talks about Jason Richardson. He said when he gets it going, we're a very special team tonight. I think the Spurs realize that. Jason Richardson did not have a shot at the basket here early.
Duncan double. That goes on Dudley. He's out there with Fry, Stoudemire, Richardson, and Steve Nash. That is the first on Jared Dudley.
I thought this ball went off Jason Richardson's leg right there. It went off his right leg. They did not get the call, but then the next play they did get the call. So this one the ball goes out of bounds, and they said Jason Richardson hit it. So missed the first one. I think they got the second right.
Like the comments of Tim Duncan, Doug, he said defensively in that first round against the Dallas Mavericks, our team kind of developed a defensive personality. We've been looking for that all regular season.
I think a lot of that is they got acclimated with Richard Jefferson being part of the defense and also Antonio McDyess. It's a very intricate defense the Spurs play. Everybody has to be in sync. When one man moves, another guy's got to cover his back, and I don't think early in the year they did that. Now they're doing a much better job of that. I think the numbers support it. But in this series, Kevin, it's going to be, as Popovich says, not transition defense, but super transition defense.
Career low numbers for Tim Duncan. During the regular season, his numbers were down because of a career low 31 minutes a game. But I think that's going to pay off here with a fresh body in the playoffs.
No question, his minutes are up to over 37 in the playoffs.
Dudley. Jefferson did the fake, and Bonner is there to clean up for San Antonio. Rebounding in the game, we've got a 2-rebound advantage for Phoenix so far.
Well, Richard Jefferson chased the ball that 3. Bonner, forced Jared Dudley to pull up and shoot a 2-pointer. Not going to let him shoot those spot-up 3s.
Switch on defense. Jefferson is on Nash. Stoudemire trying to set his screen. Little pick and roll here, and Bonner will watch Mario across the lane.
That's a mismatch there. They're going to have to get Bonner help down there. Mario will have a field day if they let him isolate and go against Bonner.
Tony Parker, Duncan a screen. We'll see more pick and rolls in this series, and you might see an whole season's worth of game with some teams as Parker's a little bit short.
Now, Tony shot a curveball on that, so let's see if Richardson can get out and run. A beautiful pass by Nash. That's what happens when you take a shot. You better get back against the Phoenix Suns. They're going to run on makes, they're going to run on misses, and they're going to run for 48 minutes.
Richardson's got 2. It's Fry watching Tim Duncan.